What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Saga Anderson in Alan Wake 2. What her role could be, how much she's influenced by Alan Wake, and that's kind of where I want to start, because I'll be honest, I was caught kind of off guard by the fact that this game was a split kind of game as well, and I don't know how much I liked it back then. I would say this about being it split 50-50, and because I've seen a lot of people, being angry that, Saga is even introduced in the first place. I think she's going to be a really cool character. Okay, let's start with the positives. I think she's a cool character, at least right now. I think what they're going to do with her should be super cool in terms of, again, that influence of how much is she kind of aware of and the things surrounding her, right? Like Alan maybe controlling it. How much is she going to be aware of that? And then her role in terms of like getting him out or helping him get out, I think is going to be massively important. But the connection between her and Alan, I think, is going to be extremely, extremely strong. And that makes me happy because at the end of the day, the game's name is Alan Wake and Alan Wake 2. And I would honestly, I'm not all that mad at people that have said, oh, why are they doing something like this? Why can't the whole game be on Alan? I feel like there's quite a good argument to stand on with that, considering the game's name and the game's legacy. It's like, yeah, I understand like ripping that away from like the main protagonist, especially if they kind of make her super powerful, always in the know, and then he's just this idiot, kind of like pushed aside loser. That would make me furious. I have a feeling Sam Lake would never in 1,000 years do something like that. But I would get absolutely furious if that were to happen. Okay, so we have that, right? The setup to Saga kind of being introduced into this game and, the kind of divide that it, I think, brought to fans. As time has gone on, though, I think more people have accepted her. I've always, again, accepted her, but also kind of wondered why they did it, why they did the 50-50 split. But I think as time has gone on, hopefully more and more people have kind of realized, well, number one, it's going to be just different. I actually think she's introduced from like a gameplay point of view almost for that reason, right? Where you can have Alan be in just this crazy, over-the-top universe in the dark place, right? Where it's a different kind of gameplay mechanic. It's a different kind of horror. Whereas Saga is going to, like I just said, different. It's going to be more different. It's actually probably going to feel more in tune with several of the, I guess, parts or most of Alan Wake. Whereas now Alan Wake himself, right, in Alan Wake 2, is going to be in just this twisted dimension where there's just going to be a lot of things going on. So I don't know if that's like the single, that's the only reason. In fact, I would highly doubt it's the only reason. But I would say a big reason of splitting it up and making this game 50-50 is literally so we can experience two different kinds of horror. Just on the gameplay, moving around, shooting enemies, experiencing the world. You could also argue, right, the whole newbie thing where she's coming in, she's a detective, she's good at her job, and she's trying to figure out what's going on. And in that way, she has to kind of get educated. What is this area? Who are these people? And she's learning it for the first time. Whereas in some ways, we could also be learning it for the first time. In other ways, maybe you're relearning it, right? Say maybe you played the first game, maybe you forgot it, you're relearning it. Maybe some stuff is absolutely brand new to everybody, so she's learning it at the same time we're learning it. Honestly, I'm no game developer, but like taking a look at that, lens of game development, I think that's extremely smart. I kind of like that. I like the whole kind of personification like of us where she is like, we're the same. She's learning something at the same time we're learning it, or maybe she's heard about something. It's like, yeah, we kind of had known a little bit, and we're getting like a re-education to it. I think that's incredibly, incredibly smart. Again, is that the main reason that she exists? And she's probably not as well. The final part to it is that connection to Alan Wake, and that is what I get the most excited for, because I think she's going to have a massive, massive role in getting him out. Whether she is the one to, and I don't even know how it would actually happen, right? Like literally pulling him out of it, or she's the one that figures something out. But how much of that is controlled by Alan? Well, an early on kind of theory I had was that she was almost created, like her entire, and I think that would actually be very dark and twisted. I actually kind of like the idea still. I mean, it's an idea I crafted, so hopefully I would like it. I'm kind of 50-50 though, because in a way you could argue, and this is something people have argued with like Thomas Zane and Alan Wake, Did they create? So say Alan Wake was created by Thomas Zane, right? Was he created out of nothing, or was this literally a person, a child, and then his kind of life was almost written into existence for him or in front of him? I think that's a super interesting question, because that almost makes you question like your own humanity, or at least that's how I look at it. That may not be like the theme of the game, but I like that idea personally, at least for Saga, where you have a choice. And we don't really know. Like, they could easily do either one. She could be a character that is truly a human being, right? She's had a life. She has a child. She's a detective. She's a good one. She's brought in. And Alan is simply using her to get him out. So he writes a story, and he, leaves the manuscript pages, and, she's picking them up, and she's part of his story, but she's a unique individual, right? Now that by itself, by the way, can lead to some pretty interesting like character things, where she could be like, well, stop using me as part of much in the way that Alan was back in Alan Wake, right? Like, can you, for the love of God, stop using me as part of the story? Or in that case, Alan was writing the story himself, right? So it could be very similar, where she's saying, I just want to like a normal, I know I'm a detective, but normal life. I want to find this guy. Stop making me, a part of this twisted story that you're making. I think that's an interesting kind of character piece that can make Saga really cool. You could make it deeper and darker if you want to do something where, no, she's literally a character in the story created by Alan Wake, where she's not actually her own. You know what I mean? When she was born, she wasn't really born. She was more created by writing by him. I love that kind of dilemma. And again, that's why I've always wanted to explore the Thomas Zane Alan Wake thing, because I feel like where it's kind of left off is Alan Wake was a person kind of written into existence, the story, afterwards, but he is real, and, he had a life and all that. That's fine. But I like the deeper, more twisted element of it would be like, you're just in existence simply to serve the story. Because in a weird way, if you think about it, game characters are just that, right? When you make a game character, you're making them to serve. They're created. Yes, they have a backstory, but they have a backstory because the developers, they wrote them. So it's almost like this I don't even know what the correct terminology would be, but it's very reflective of like real life and just making game characters in the first place. I think that's kind of why I like Alan Wake in the first place. So I love them to kind of take a look into that element where Saga is just created fully. Her entire backstory is fake, right? It's just written by Alan. She doesn't actually have one, right? She's not actually real. And what that would do to like her psyche and her just as a person, I think that'd be insanely cool. But I honestly don't know if they'll take that approach. I feel like it's going to actually be the other one, where she just is a person and he's using her to get him out of, which is fine. And by using her, you would say that and it sounds so negative. It's kind of necessary, right? Like, he needs all the help he can get. But no, I think this is going to be such a cool character. I really believe that. And she's actually, I don't know if it's because I kind of want to save Alan and his gameplay or his side of the story. I envision myself playing more of Saga early and then kind of transitioning, because remember, you could play these missions kind of at your own pace, and you could do like 6 Alan Wake missions or 6 of her missions that you can go in any order. I think I'm actually going to do her first, just to kind of like see what her character is, who she is, where she's coming from. I really want to see that early, and so I'm going to do that kind of first. So that's my thoughts of her as a character. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Saga, how important you think she'll be, any of that stuff. Thank you as always for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.